You've been cutting hair for almost 10 years. Nothing glamorous, nothing dangerous, just a small barbershop squeezed between a pawn shop and a liquor store, in a neighborhood most people avoid after dark. Every morning you unlock the metal shutter at 7:30 a.m. The smell of cheap shaving cream fills the room. The same cracked leather chair waits in the middle of the shop. The same mirror reflects the same tired streets outside. Your customers are predictable. Taxi drivers before their morning shift. Construction workers during lunch. Old men who come in just to talk about soccer and politics. You charge $10 for a haircut, $12 if they want to shave. It's not much, but it's honest work. Your father used to say a barber hears more secrets than a priest. You never really believed that. Until the day the black SUV parked outside your shop. It sits there for 5 minutes, engine running, windows tinted so dark you can't see inside. Your last customer of the morning finishes his haircut and leaves. The shop goes quiet. Then the door opens. 2 men walk in, not your usual customers. Expensive boots. Gold watches. The kind of confidence that only comes from men who know nobody in this neighborhood would ever challenge them. One of them looks around the shop slowly. The other locks the door behind him. Your stomach tightens. The taller one walks toward the barber chair and sits down. He doesn't smile. He just looks at you through the mirror and says one sentence. Relax, barber. Then he places a pistol on the counter next to your scissors. We need your services. And suddenly, this is no longer a normal haircut. For a moment, nobody moves. The buzzing of your clippers is the only sound in the room. The man in the chair watches you through the mirror. The other one leans against the door, arms crossed, making sure nobody walks in. Your eyes keep drifting to the pistol on the counter. The man notices. Don't worry, he says calmly. If we wanted you dead, we wouldn't be asking for a haircut. He gestures toward the scissors. Go on. Your hands feel heavier than usual as you drape the cape over his shoulders. Up close, you notice the details. The scar above his eyebrow. The tattoo on his neck. The way his eyes keep scanning the mirror, the windows, the door. This is not a normal customer. You start cutting. Slow, careful. Every movement feels louder than it should. The scissors, the comb, the faint scrape of the razor against skin. Then he speaks again. You've been here a long time. You nod. 10 years. Good, he says. That means people trust you. Your stomach tightens. You don't ask what he means. When the haircut is finished, he stands up and checks himself in the mirror. He seems satisfied. Then the man by the door steps forward and places a thick envelope on the counter. You open it. Inside is more cash than you normally make in 2 months. The man in the chair turns toward you. Tomorrow morning, he says, adjusting his jacket. You're coming with us. What for? He smiles slightly. Our boss needs a barber. Your heart skips. And when the boss calls, he picks up the pistol from the counter and tucks it back into his waistband. You don't say no. The next morning, you don't open your shop. At exactly 8,000 Met, the same black SUV pulls up outside your apartment. No words, no explanation. Just the back door opening. You get in. The ride lasts almost an hour. The city slowly disappears behind you. Concrete buildings turn into empty roads. Empty roads turn into mountains. Finally, the SUV stops in front of a massive iron gate. 2 armed guards step forward. Rifles. Body armor. Cold eyes. The gate opens slowly. Inside is a ranch so large it looks like a small town. Armored trucks, satellite dishes, men with rifles standing on rooftops. Your stomach tightens. You realize something immediately. This isn't just a ranch. It's a fortress. The SUV stops in front of a white house at the center of the compound. The man from yesterday opens your door. Bring your tools. Inside the house, everything is silent. Marble floors, expensive paintings, security cameras in every corner. They lead you to a room with 1 chair in the middle. Not a barber chair, just a normal chair. A man sits in it, mid-40s, calm, perfectly dressed. He doesn't introduce himself. He doesn't need to. You already know, this is the boss. He studies you like a mechanic inspecting a new tool. Then he speaks. Cut, that's the only word. You set up your scissors and comb. Your hands are steady, but your mind is racing, because for the first time in your life, you're holding a razor to the throat of one of the most dangerous men in the country. The room is completely silent. You begin the shave. Slow, careful. When you finish, the boss touches his jaw and nods. Then he gives you the first rule. From now on, you see nothing. A pause. You hear nothing. Another pause. And you repeat nothing. Then he looks directly into your eyes. Because the barber, he smiles slightly. After that first haircut, you never go back to your old shop. The cartel closes it for you. They say it's for your safety. Your tools are moved to a private room inside the compound. A perfect barbershop, leather chair, bright mirrors. Imported shaving creams that cost more than your old monthly rent. At first, you only cut the boss's hair. Once a week. Always the same ritual. 2 guards outside the door. 1 guard inside. No phones. No talking unless he speaks first. Commanders start showing up. Lieutenants, drivers, men with tattoos covering their hands and scars across their faces. They all sit in your chair. And when men sit in a barber chair, they talk. They talk about shipments, routes, deals. Sometimes they talk about people who disappeared. At first you try not to listen, but it's impossible. Because the barber stands closer than anyone else. Closer than bodyguards. Closer than family. Your razor touches their throat. Your hands move inches from their pulse. And they forget you're even there. Weeks turn into months. Your life changes. You move into a luxury apartment paid for by the cartel. Cash arrives every Friday in thick envelopes. More money than you ever imagined. But the real change isn't the money, it's the access. You're now the barber for the entire organization. Every important man sits in your chair. Every important conversation happens in front of your mirror. One afternoon, the boss walks into the barbershop unexpectedly. He sits down. You start trimming his beard. He watches you in the mirror. Then he says something that makes your stomach tighten. You know? He pauses. You're the safest man in this entire cartel. You keep cutting, pretending not to react. He smiles slightly. Because nobody kills the man holding the razor. You cut hair, you shave beards, you collect envelopes full of cash every Friday. But the longer you stay inside the cartel, the more you realize something terrifying. Commanders argue about shipments from Colombia. Lieutenants whisper about which rival cartel is planning an attack. You hear everything, and word spreads. Soon other cartels learn something important. There is a barber inside the boss's compound. A man who stands inches away from the cartel leader with a razor in his hand. A man who hears every conversation. One night your phone rings. You answer. A calm voice speaks. We know who you are. We also know where you live. Your stomach drops. You could make a lot of money working for us. You hang up immediately. The next day, you tell the boss. He doesn't look surprised. I was wondering when that would happen. 2 armed bodyguards now follow you everywhere. One drives your car. The other sits outside your apartment door all night. Your barbershop inside the compound becomes the only place you're allowed to work. You can't walk alone. You can't visit old friends. You can't even go to the grocery store without someone watching your back. Then the warning arrives. One morning the boss shows you a photo on his phone, a burned barbershop across town. The owner was found inside. The boss locks eyes with you in the mirror. That message, he pauses, was meant for you? By the second year, the pressure starts closing in, not from rival cartels, from the government. Then one morning the boss doesn't show up for his usual haircut. Instead, the compound explodes with activity. Armored trucks moving, men shouting orders, phones ringing non-stop. Later that day, one of the commanders sits in your chair. You start trimming his beard. But this time, he isn't talking. He's watching you in the mirror. Then he says something quietly. He continues. They're asking questions. And guess what they're asking about? Your stomach tightens. The barber. The word hangs in the air like smoke, because investigators have realized something important. The barber is the only outsider who hears everything. A few days later, your phone rings again. But this time, it's not a cartel. It's the government. A calm voice speaks. This is the federal police. Your heart starts pounding. We know where you work. Silence. We know what you've heard. Another pause. Help us, and we can protect you. That night, the boss calls you to the compound. Private haircut. Just the 2 of you. No commanders. No music. Just silence. You place the razor against his throat, your hand steady, but inside your chest, your heart is racing. Because you now understand something terrifying. The government thinks you're their key witness. And the cartel is starting to wonder if you already are. The room is silent. Just you, the boss, and the razor resting against his throat. Your hands move slowly, trimming the edge of his beard. But this time the atmosphere is different. He isn't talking about shipments. He isn't joking with his usual calm confidence. He's watching you, studying every movement in the mirror. Then he speaks. Something interesting happened today. You don't respond. You keep shaving. The federal police called one of my commanders this morning. Your grip tightens slightly on the razor. They're asking questions about someone close to me. A pause fills the room. The boss tilts his head back slightly so you can reach his neck. It's the most vulnerable position a man can be in. And the most dangerous position a barber can hold. Because one small movement, and the razor could end everything. The boss finally looks straight into your eyes through the mirror. They think the barber might talk. Your heart pounds so hard you're sure he can hear it, but your hands stay steady. You finish the shave. You wipe the blade clean. You remove the cape from his shoulders. The boss stands up and looks at himself in the mirror. Perfect cut. Perfect shave. He nods once. Then he turns to you. You know the problem with being trusted? He says calmly. You don't answer. He picks up your razor from the counter and studies the blade. A long silence fills the room. The barber becomes the most dangerous man in the building. He walks toward the door. Before leaving, he stops and looks back at you one last time. So tell me something, barber.